This page is the cover of the Dreamcast Magazine UK, showcasing some absolute crackers for the console. It features a huge exclusive review of Jet Set Radio, questioning if it's the coolest game ever made, which, let's be honest, it probably is, with its unique style and whole skate and spray vibe. They've also reviewed Half-Life, the legendary shooter, and Silent Scope, Konami's sniper game. There's a preview of Quake 2i, Arena putting online multiplayer to the test. Plus, they're teasing Lara Croft with first screens of Tomb Raider 5, offering tips for F355 Challenge and Virtua Tennis, and revealing details on Samba de Amigo 2K, Driver 2, NASCAR, and Dino Crisis. Looks like a packed issue with over 30 pages of reviews, proper good stuff. This page jumps straight into the DC intro, elaborating on the crackers featured on the cover. We're shown snippets and page numbers for the reviews and features on Jet Set Radio, Quake 2i Arena, and Half-Life, giving you a head start on where to find the good stuff. The visual theme leans heavily into the main feature here, Army Men, Sarge's Heroes 2, with green plastic soldiers making a stand in what appears to be a giant litter box. The game description tells us Sarge is back, rescuing commandos, and unleashing an arsenal including bazookas and flamethrowers in this plastic world conflict. The welcome section from the editor explains what a crazy month it's been, crammed with top games like the ones on the cover, and giving a nod to future releases. It also introduces the magazine team, detailing their slightly odd recent exploits. This page lays out the month's delights, showcasing what's packed inside this issue of DC UK. Up top, you've got a grim-looking chap from Quake 2i Arena, alongside action shots from Tony Hawk's 2 and the endurance race of Le Mans 24-hour. The main sections detail the goods, features tease topics like From Geek to Chic and the contributor Jason Brooks. The DC review section highlights anticipated titles such as Jet Set Radio, Half-Life, and Ultimate Fighting Championship. DC Express zips through news including Tomb Raider 5 and Unreal Tournament. There are also DA tips for games like Virtua Tennis and Ferrari 355, plus sections for reader interaction, and regulars like the editorial intro. It's a comprehensive look at what gaming goodness awaits you. This page dives headfirst into the blood-soaked world of Quake 2i Arena. You've got the massive title emblazoned across the page, alongside the game's iconic character artwork. The preview hails it as the most gory, kick-ass shooter of them all, highlighting its pure multiplayer focus. It explains how to get online with the Dreamcast, mentioning dedicated servers and the potential for lag. The text makes it clear this isn't about plot, but about intense arena combat. Just grab guns, find players, and get on with it. There are screenshots showing the fast-paced action, the railgun, plasma gun, and some of the diverse environments. It mentions the long wait for the Dreamcast port and reckons those waiting on a PS2 version should perhaps reconsider. Essential stuff for any self-respecting frag fiend. This page continues the deep dive into Quake 2i Arena for the Dreamcast. It lays out the armory, detailing the game's arsenal, from the basic gauntlet and machine gun to the deadly railgun and the utterly ridiculous BFG-10K, perfect for clearing a room when you're feeling flush. There's also a Quake Speak section, helpfully explaining the essential lingo like frag, gib, lag, and ping, so you don't sound like a complete N00B online. The main text praises Sega's handling of the port, declaring the marriage of DC and Quake is one made in game nirvana. It highlights the stable 30 FPS frame rate, even with 4 players duking it out, and mentions specific DC exclusive levels, while noting that controller options aren't quite as precise as a mouse and keyboard, because let's be honest, nothing is in this kind of shooter. It confirms the game delivers the brutal, bloody, and addictive online experience expected from Quake 2i, albeit with the standard online lag making Twitch weapons tricky. Images show more intense firefights and character models. This page previews Le Mans 24-hour, a racing simulation for the Dreamcast developed by Melbourne House. Unlike the PlayStation version, this is a brand new game built from the ground up. It aims to replicate the legendary endurance race, offering the option to play the full 24 hours in real time. Or you can condense the time if you value your sanity. The game promises a variety of driving challenges, including a championship mode, featuring well-known tracks like Donington and Suzuka, and over 40 different cars. There's also a 4-player split-screen mode for multiplayer antics. Screenshots show various race cars on track, highlighting the day-night cycle and packed grids. The preview gives the impression that the game captures the excitement of high-speed endurance racing, particularly when you get behind the wheel. It sounds like it offers a satisfying racing experience, balancing speed with technical driving, and certainly looks the part for a Dreamcast racer. This page continues the preview of Le Mans 24-hour, delving into the cars, the stars. We get a breakdown of the 40 vehicles, split into GT and prototype classes, featuring some legendary manufacturers like Porsche, Audi, and BMW. Each motor has unique ratings for speed, brakes, handling, and acceleration, meaning you need to pick your steed wisely for the grueling 24-hour race. Apparently, the Chrysler Viper is a bit of a handful in the corners. The page shows off the car stats for vehicles like the Porsche 911 GT2, which handles like a dream, and the rather smart-looking Listerstorm GTL. The review highlights the absolute chows of having up to 40 cars on the track at once, creating proper bumper-to-bumper action, which they seem to quite like. There are 3 difficulty levels, getting increasingly tough, especially on Expert, requiring more than a day's worth of dedication at the wheel to master the handling and intelligent opponents. The page also features F355 Challenge, Passione Rossa, plastered with quotes calling it incredible looking and the most realistic simulator on console, due out in October. This page gives us a preview of Sega GT, the Dreamcast challenger to Sony's behemoth, Gran Turismo. It's billed as a tough simulation racer, aiming to deliver an all-encompassing experience. The game boasts a wealth of modes beyond standard races, including car customization in the carrozzeria, and even drag racing for those who just want straight-line speed. The preview mentions plenty of tuning options, from suspension setup to engine upgrades, suggesting gearheads will have lots to tinker with. Visually, the screenshots showcase excellent lighting and detailed backdrops, especially the city tracks, which look rather stunning at night. With a wide variety of cars, from road cars to full-blown racers and diverse tracks, Sega GT appears to cover all the bases for racing fans. This page jumps straight into the terrifying world of Dino Crisis, Capcom's answer to Resident Evil but with significantly larger, toothier foes. It's billed as a survival horror where you play as Regina, sent to a remote research facility overrun by dinosaurs. The preview highlights the shift to 3D backgrounds with a dynamic camera, unlike the static views of early Resident Evil titles, adding to the cinematic feel. Expect faster, deadlier enemies and plenty of gore. The AI is apparently enhanced, with dinosaurs using tactics like trying to flank you or even bursting through walls. Sounds deeply unpleasant, frankly. A handy quick turn function is noted as essential for legging it when things get hairy, which sounds like it'll be used rather a lot. Screenshots show various encounters, from velociraptors to the Tyrant King, demonstrating the graphic detail and moody environments. The article mentions a variety of weapons, including tranquilizer darts, suggesting brains might be needed as well as brawn. Despite being a port of the PlayStation original, the preview asserts that Dino Crisis still remains a premier horror adventure, and will definitely spook Dreamcast owners. Looks like your typical walk in the park then. This page jumps straight into the wonderfully chaotic world of Worms World Party, bringing the invertebrate warfare back for another go. It's the classic turn-based strategy we all know and love, where teams of worms blast each other into oblivion using everything from bazookas to exploding sheep. The graphics and utterly daft humor remain as charming as ever, proving you don't need photorealism when you've got worms delivering fire punches. The major draw here is, of course, the online multiplayer finally letting you decimate your mates over the internet rather than just the sofa. The review notes this adds a significant new dimension, especially with the built-in messaging for pre- and post-match banter. Looks like the perfect way to lose friends, frankly. You can see screenshots showing the destruction, silly weapons like the ninja rope, and the "you've got Matt ill" online chat interface in action. A simple but effective formula, polished up and thrown online. Good stuff. This page dives into the DC preview of the Aardman animation classic, Chicken Run. It's described as a madcap action/adventure, loaded with minigames and poultry. The game takes a rather unexpected stealth approach, likened hilariously to Metal Gear Solid but with chickens. Your only weapon against the terrors of Tweedy's farm. The humble sprout, apparently capable of distracting vicious dogs. You'll be sneaking around as Ginger and the gang, trying to make a break for it through various challenges. Screenshots show stealth sections, mini-games involving catapulting chickens and trampolining, and appearances from characters like Rocky. There's also a nod to the infamous chicken pie machine. The preview mentions Aardman's pedigree, touching upon their brilliant work like Wallace and Gromit and Creature Comforts. Seems like a quirky, charming tie-in that sticks close to the film's spirit. This page features a preview of Frogger 2, Swampy's Revenge. Apparently Frogger is back to rescue his amphibian amour after she's been kidnapped by an evil croc. It's pitched as a modern take on the classic coin-op, updating the simple early 80s gameplay with lovely visuals and a plot. The article notes that like the original, the levels might feel similar, but that didn't stop the first game from being addictive, so perhaps that's not a problem. It mentions multiplayer modes and even a section featuring updated versions of the original arcade levels. On the right side, there's an advert for Star Wars Episode I, Jedi Power Battles, featuring Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn ready for a scrap. This page features a preview of European Super League, a football simulation game aiming to bring Europe's top teams together in one league. Developed by Virgin/Interplay's in-house team, this title arrives in November and is pitched as a welcome challenger in the Dreamcast football scene, especially against SWWS 2K1. The game promises a more measured, simulated style compared to more arcade-like football games, taking inspiration from titles like ISS Evolution. It boasts full licensing for 16 elite European teams, meaning correct player names, kits and accurate stadiums are all present, which is certainly a plus. Screenshots highlight features like enhanced goalie control, adjustable referee leniency for those who like a bit of rough and tumble, precise free kicks controlled by a cursor system, and even full control over goal celebrations. The article seems hopeful that this could be the solid, realistic football game Dreamcast owners have been waiting for. This page takes a look at a couple of upcoming titles, starting with Pod 2, a high-octane futuristic racer, throwing you onto diverse tracks populated by everything from robotic dinosaurs to rather unfriendly aliens you'll need to navigate around. While the power-ups seem a bit basic, the races themselves are described as breakneck fast, and the real excitement appears to be the promised online multiplayer, which the reviewer flags as the game's potential coup de grace. We also get a preview of Dinosaur, the game based on the flick. The reviewer seems to think the film wasn't exactly a cinematic masterpiece and hopes the game fares better. It's described as a puzzle-based adventure, where you control a trio of characters, Aladar, Zini and Flea, each with their own skills you'll need to combine to save their species from extinction. Looks like you'll be juggling abilities a bit like in the good old days of Lost Vikings. This page dives headfirst into the long-awaited showdown between fighting game giants, Capcom vs SNK. The article frames it as the definitive 2D beat-em-up, finally settling the score between two fiercely loyal fan bases. Screenshots highlight the impressive visuals, showing off detailed stages and characters like Geese Howard, Terry Bogard, Sagat, Ryu, Zangief, and the ever-popular Mai Shiranui. It promises a packed roster, featuring key fighters from both companies' histories. Gameplay introduces the groove system, letting you choose powerbar mechanics reminiscent of Street Fighter III or King of Fighters, and a variable ratio system to balance teams. The review makes it clear this is a must-have for hardcore fighting game enthusiasts, a true clash of the titans where, apparently, violence is the only solution. Brilliant. The next page takes us from the arena floor to the halfpipe, with a deep dive into Tony Hawk's Skateboarding 2. This preview promises a cracking sequel, upping the ante considerably from the original. We get the lowdown on the expanded trick list, including the game-changing manual, and the impressive customization options allowing you to craft your own skateparks and skaters. The graphics are noticeably sharper too, with vastly improved character models. There's even an interview with Tony Hawk himself, where he talks about the game's ultimate skater fantasy, pulling off insane combos you couldn't dream of in real life without a trip to A&E. It sounds like pure, unadulterated skateboarding heaven is heading our way just in time for Christmas. This page dives headfirst into the return of a bona fide gaming legend with Lara Returns. The main event is a look at Tomb Raider Chronicles, which apparently isn't a direct sequel but rather a collection of disparate adventures covering different periods and gameplay styles from Lara's illustrious career. We're told to expect everything from puzzle-heavy levels without weapons, action sequences, and even stealth segments, including new moves like tightrope walking and swinging. Core design is aiming for a grittier feel, and it seems Lara's getting a Matrix-style makeover along the way. There are screenshots showing Lara in various predicaments, from combat to what look like stealth encounters. Elsewhere on the page, there's a quick mention of Cow the Kangaroo, a cheerful-looking platformer, and a list of upcoming games showing how hyped we should be for them. This page starts off the news section with a look at Smilebit's Soccer Special, a promising football management sim featuring network leagues and a transfer market, which the Dreamcast desperately needs. Below that, there's info on the Dreamcast version of Daytona USA, an enhanced coin-op port with online 8-player support and split screen, thankfully overseen by Toshihiro Nagoshi. The main feature is on Unreal Tournament, which is hitting Dreamcast with exclusive extras and PC maps. Looking fantastic thanks to the developers really pushing the hardware. It might just pip Quake 2i on the DC. Over on the right, there's exciting news about Dead or Alive 2 Hardcore. The feature-rich Japanese version with extra characters and levels. Fingers crossed that gets a European release. Finally, we see a rather memorable Quake 2i advert, featured as the ad of the month, and the details for the DC UK game line, for any tricky spots in your favourite games. This page dives into the latest Dreamcast happenings and reviews. We get wind of rumours about a possible Sega and Microsoft hookup, and news on Dreamcast discounts for Japanese Saturn owners, plus a peek at Dream Creator, a tool for making your own adventure games. The main features cover Sega's updated Samba de Amigo 2000, bringing the maraca-shaking rhythm fun back with new modes and tracks, complete with screenshots showing the arcade machine and gameplay action. Then there's a look at Championship Surfer, an extreme sports title aiming for realism with various locations, though it seems to have missed out on a proper surf soundtrack, a bit of a bummer. Screenshots show some serious wave action. Excitingly, there's talk that Driver 2 could be heading to the DC, the car chase sequel promising new cities, and the ability to get out of your car GTA style, which sounds rather tasty. We also see the Chart Track Top 10 Games list, and a report on a console championship finale, featuring a Soul Calibur bout. The Dreamcast issue features Army Men, a plastic toy soldier game. Official accessories reviewed include the Dreamcast mouse, deemed essential for FPS games, and the Dreamcast microphone, potentially useful for voice communication. Dave 2000's column details the struggles of a hardcore Dreamcast owner during the holiday season, overwhelmed by game releases like Metropolis Street Racer and Ferrari 355. Finally, the issue spotlights ESPN International Track and Field, a button-bashing sports game with ordering details. This page dives headfirst into the world of coin-op machines, reporting live from Japan's JAMA show. The big news is undoubtedly Sega revealing their next-generation arcade hardware, the Naomi 2, promising a significant leap in power. This monster is set to launch with some serious titles, including the racing game Club Kart and a new Virtua Striker. Sega also showcased a new light gun shooter from Hitmaker, Confidential Mission, which looks like a spiritual successor to Virtua Cop, complete with action hero antics. Elsewhere, Hitmaker is giving us a music sim with Kraken DJ, letting players try their hand at mixing and scratching, and Sega Rosso teams up with EA Sports for a NASCAR arcade game, bringing realistic stock car racing to the arcades. The focus is clearly on new Sega hardware, and games making waves in Japan. This page reports back from the Tokyo Game Show 2000, where Sega was notably absent, holding their own event instead. Despite Sega's no-show at TGS, third parties brought the heat with Dreamcast titles like the updated Dead or Alive 2 looking sharp and Capcom's Project Justice, Rival Schools 2, impressing graphically. But the talk of the show amongst some was Sammy's Guilty Gear X, hailed here as potentially the best 2D fighter seen in ages, thanks to its vibrant visuals and slick animation. Capcom also showed Vampire Chronicle, which seemed a bit dated. Sega's own event at Shinjuku Joypopolis showcased their lineup, including the eagerly awaited Phantasy Star Online, the ever-lively Samba de Amigo, and arcade oddities like Dream Audition, which provided some hilarious moments for the press. It seems even without a major TGS presence, Sega and its partners still had plenty to show off. This page is a full-spread advertisement from Gameplay.com, showcasing a wide range of Dreamcast games like Jet Set Radio, Dead or Alive 2, and Shenmue, alongside console bundles, accessories, and contact information for sales. This page features a DC feature titled From Geek to Chic, where Jason Brooks investigates how video games shed their reclusive past to become cool and popular. It touches upon the transformation of gaming from a bedroom-dwelling hobby to a major entertainment force. The article highlights games that contributed to this change, such as Jet Set Radio, which is praised for its blend of Tokyo street culture, skating, graffiti, and music. We see screenshots and art from Jet Set Radio, Space Channel 5, with its distinct character art, and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, showcasing games that embraced style and popular culture. It also discusses the influence of design, mentioning the Designers Republic, responsible for the Wipeout aesthetic, and the growing importance of music, noting how games like Wipeout, Space Channel 5, Parappa the Rapper, Crazy Taxi, and Beatmania integrated licensed tracks all made music central to gameplay. The page suggests that a mix of manga, music, fashion, and youth culture, particularly from Tokyo, helped make these games stand out and appeal to a wider audience. This page continues the DC feature exploring gaming's evolution, delving into how graphical realism, licensed properties, and new game genres broadened its appeal. Reality Bites discusses how games like Daytona USA and Ridge Racer brought realistic graphics to arcades, with Shenmue pushing boundaries further. We see screenshots from Shenmue, Daytona USA, and VF2. Licensed to Thrill highlights the impact of using popular brands, especially in successful sports titles like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, or games like Ferrari 355 Challenge, Wafer Striker shown, proving licensing is often a winning ticket. Insert Coin, Get a Job humorously notes the strange appeal of simulator games, such as train or bus driving, Densha de Go, Tokyo Bus Guide, that somehow lure people in. Make an Ass of Yourself covers the rise of music games like Samba de Amigo and Dance Dance Revolution, making it acceptable to flail around in public. DJ Culture follows up with the popularity of DJ/music creation games like Beatmania. Sponsor Me looks at marketing tie-ins, showing Sonic with an Arsenal mascot, proving even football gets involved. The bottom section lists games crucial to bringing gaming to the masses, from Tetris and Mario to Doom, Tomb Raider, Crash Bandicoot, and Shenmue, each succeeding with a unique appeal. This page kicks off the DC UK review section, proudly stating it's the only one you can really trust. Before diving into the reviews, there are a couple of bundle offers for the Dreamcast console paired with games like Virtua Tennis and Virtua Athlete 2K, plus some accessories. The main event is the reviews index and highlights. You'll find listings for Jet Set Radio, Half-Life, Ultimate Fighting Championship, Silent Scope, and more. Prominently featured with artwork and ratings are Jet Set Radio and Half-Life, both labeled as DC UK Essential. UFC and Silent Scope get the DC UK Recommend stamp, showing these 4 games are absolute corkers. We also meet the review panel. Oliver Hurley enjoyed UFC, Lee Hart found his inner alley wannabe with Jet Set Radio, Martin Kitts got shouty playing NFL 2K1, and Neil Randall got a bit kinky after Silent Scope. The page explains the scoring system, a straightforward 0-1-0 scale, where a 5 is average, and what those coveted recommends and essential badges actually mean. It's all very clear and honest, just as they promised. The bottom has contact details, and some terms like free delivery, over a certain amount. This page dives straight into the review of Jet Set Radio, immediately hitting you with a bold statement about its utter originality. The striking cel-shaded graphics give it the feel of a 2D animation, which the review says looks absolutely incredible in motion, making screenshots do it no justice. The core gameplay revolves around skating, spraying tags, and pulling off tricks, all set to a funky soundtrack. There's a section dedicated to the trick system, noting it's simpler than Tony Hawk's but still allows for cool aerial moves. The reviewer heaps praise on it, even suggesting it's better than both Crazy Taxi and Tony Hawk's. The plot involves rival gangs battling for territory in Tokyo using graffiti, with the police trying to crack down on the mayhem. It's clearly marked as a DC UK Essential title, cementing its status as a must-have. This page continues the deep dive into Jet Set Radio. We get a closer look at the rival street gangs you'll be tagging out of Tokyo, the Love Shockers, Noise Tanks, and Poison Jam. There are plenty of vibrant screenshots showing off the different areas like Shibuya and the new Grind Square, as well as the crucial mechanic of spraying tags on the go while trying to avoid the police, led by the rather persistent Captain Onishima. The review touches upon Professor K, the ragged DJ who keeps you informed, and characters like Yo-Yo and Beat who join your crew. It highlights the unique genre-bending gameplay, described as a skating tag 'em up, and mentions the character challenges to join your gang. The missions involve tagging specific areas, or chasing down rival gangs to tag them directly. Oh, and you can design your own graffiti, which is a nice touch, innit? Oops, nearly slipped up there. The page finishes with a bold statement about JSR building Sega's design reputation. This page dives into the full DC UK review for Jet Set Radio, proclaiming, "Leg it! It's the filth!" It details the escalating police response to your graffiti antics, from foot patrols and SWAT teams to tanks and helicopter gunships, all orchestrated by the rather determined Captain Onishima. The review highlights the game's unique mix of skating, grinding, and tagging, comparing it to a blend of Crazy Taxi and Tony Hawk but better, adding the vibrant graffiti element. It praises the graphics as some of the best seen, the fantastic soundtrack by DJ Professor K covering rap, hip-hop, rock, and techno, and the utterly sensational gameplay. The inclusion of new American-style areas like Bantam Street and Grind Square for the Western release is noted. Despite minor camera hiccups, the verdict is clear, an absolute must-buy, a triumph in every department, earning a superb 9 out of 10. This page features the full DC UK review of the legendary sci-fi horror adventure, Half-Life, along with a look at the Blue Shift expansion. The massive Half-Life title dominates the page, alongside an image of the protagonist, Gordon Freeman, looking rather intense. A large quote highlights the game's unrelenting pace. From the opening monorail ride to the spectacular shootout atop a mountain, the pace never lets up. The main review text details the player's journey as Gordon Freeman, starting with the disastrous experiment and the subsequent chows as alien creatures and military forces flood the Black Mesa facility. It praises the game's brilliant design, the atmospheric environment, and the visceral combat, comparing it favorably to the best action films. Screenshots show moments like a showdown with a helicopter, Black Ops soldiers, and encountering alien threats. A sidebar titled, Working the Blue Shift, focuses on the expansion, where you play as Barney, a security guard, offering a unique perspective on the events of Half-Life. It touches upon Barney's mundane life before the disaster, his experiences during the chows, his interactions with the scientists, who are rather unhelpful, bless their cotton socks, and fighting both aliens and the military. Screenshots illustrate scenes from Blue Shift, including Barney in the staff cafe and facing hostiles. The game is proudly stamped with a DC UK Essential badge. This page continues the DC UK review of Half-Life, now delving into the Dreamcast port and its exclusive Blue Shift expansion. The reviewer doesn't mince words when it comes to controls, strongly suggesting abandoning the standard joypad for a mouse and keyboard, noting the pad configurations are a bit of a compromise for accuracy. However, they do praise the subtle graphical improvements on the Dreamcast, like the retouched lighting and improved soldier models, which make the atmosphere even better. Technical aspects like load times are deemed favorable, and the PC-style Save Anywhere system is a definite plus, a welcome change from typical console checkpoints. The star of the show here is clearly the Blue Shift add-on, a substantial 30-level mission where you play as Barney Calhoun, offering a different perspective on the Black Mesa incident. Despite some minor gripes carried over from the original, like the slightly less engaging alien world, Blue Shift is hailed as a massively engaging game in its own right, providing plenty of classic Half-Life action. The screenshots showcase everything from alien beasts to the improved military enemies and scenes from Barney's adventure. This page concludes the DC UK review of Half-Life and its Blue Shift expansion on Dreamcast. The main takeaway is right there in the big quote. Half-Life is an unmissable experience on Dreamcast, just as it was on PC. Barney Calhoun's journey in Blue Shift gets highlighted, featuring underground exploration, navigating sewers, and escaping through narrow passages, facing off against gun turrets and the military elite. The review notes, Barney relies heavily on his torch, and finds himself wading through stagnant water. Sounds like a right laugh. His interaction with scientists and the security guards' antics add to the charm. The verdict box gives glowing scores, graphics are updated and smooth, sound is a perfect oral masterpiece, and gameplay is a near-flawless mix of fighting and puzzles, gripping you for weeks. Overall, it's hailed as a legend and a DC UK essential, earning a cracking 9 out of 10. Screenshots show various scenes, including the understated cafe from Blue Shift, Black Mesa interiors, government forces repelling, and humorous moments like a smashed vending machine and scientists playing Half-Life. It seems the Dreamcast port, especially with the Blue Shift content, is a bona fide success. This page dives into the DC UK review for Ultimate Fighting Championship, hailing it as one of the most refreshing, innovative, and, no surprise here, realistic fighting games ever conceived. Earning the DC UK Recommends stamp, the review highlights its brutal realism with not a flying kick in sight, focusing instead on grappling, submissions, and positional dominance like the Mountain Guard, as detailed in a handy sidebar. Published by Crave and developed by Anchor, the game features 22 UFCERS and captures the intensity of the real-life sport. Screenshots showcase various stages of the fight, from standing strikes to intricate ground battles and submission attempts, illustrating the game's depth in mixed martial arts techniques. Priced at £39.99 and released in November, it's presented as a truly authentic fighting simulation. This page continues the DC UK review for Ultimate Fighting Championship, noting that the game's realistic nature, while impressive, might actually be its only true failing because fights can be incredibly short. The review highlights a rewarding career mode, allowing you to build your own fighter. The verdict section gives it an 8 out of 10, praising the graphics and sound, but noting gameplay fights can be brief, and multiplayer is limited to 2 players. Screens show fighter intros, submissions, cos and grappling. The page also features a review for F1 World Grand Prix 2 for Dreamcast, showcasing impressive screenshots of the realistic racing action, pit stops, and cars, published by Konami. This page dives into the DC UK review for Konami's Silent Scope. It's lauded as a perfect mix of intuitive control and instant thrills, comparing it favorably to the sheer gratification of Crazy Taxi. The review highlights how Konami has brought this arcade sniper game home, keeping the core gameplay intact even without the original cabinet's rifle. You play as an anti-terrorist sharpshooter tasked with rescuing the president and his family, using your skills to take down enemies from a distance. The control system is praised for its magnifying scope mechanic and rewarding target zones on enemy bodies. The page is packed with screenshots showing the sniper's view, the action in the scope, various environments like a football field and city streets, and even that gloriously morbid bullet-in-the-head camera. There's also a great sidebar noting a few stolen moments, detailing how the game's set-pieces are clearly inspired by classic sniper scenes from films like Dirty Harry, Predator, and JFK. DC UK even gives it their coveted recommends stamp. This page continues the deep dive into Konami's Silent Scope, focusing heavily on the training facility available in the game, which is apparently essential for becoming an ace sniper. The large graphic showcases different targets within the training mode, highlighting various body parts and types of targets, including villains and innocent civilians, with a crucial note to avoid shooting the latter. The review elaborates on the gameplay mechanics, praising the reward for headshots and mentioning bonus systems, albeit including a rather questionable one for shooting scantily clad Totti. It stresses the importance of accuracy over just wildly spraying bullets. While the graphics are described as functional rather than flashy, compared perhaps unfavorably to older Model 2 games, the review points out the well-crafted locations and numerous cinematic influences. The soundtrack gets a nod for its 70s action movie vibe. Ultimately, Silent Scope is deemed a challenging but addictive arcade shooter that requires patience and precision. It earns the DC UK recommends stamp and scores a solid 8 out of 10 overall, recognized as a brilliant slice of arcade action. This page delves into Street Fighter II Third Strike, the dramatic closing chapter of the series. The review kicks off with a rather blunt quote suggesting the game doesn't push boundaries, just exists in its own little microcosm. It covers the game's details, including the publisher, Virgin Interactive, developer, Capcom, and mentions familiar faces like Ryu, Ken, and Chun-Li, alongside some of the newer characters seen in the screenshots, such as Ibuki, Alex, and Hugo. The gameplay is described as tightly tuned fisticuffs, with the classic Street Fighter sound making a welcome return. There's a feature called System Direction that allows players to tweak fight rules, which sounds interesting if a bit much. Ultimately, despite the flair, the reviewer finds it a slight disappointment, scoring it a 7 out of 10. Apparently it doesn't quite live up to the lofty expectations set by the previous games, bless its cotton socks. This page dives into Extreme Sports, a title attempting to blend sports and racing, according to the rather harsh headline quote. The game is essentially a multi-event race, featuring snowboarding, speed gliding, quad biking, mountain biking, and bungee jumping across various global locations. The most touted feature is the transition racing, where you switch between these extreme activities mid-race, like going from a snowboard descent to a glider flight. The review highlights the variety of stunts possible, and mentions the gameplay modes include time trial, single race, and championship. Despite being called a fairly original concept initially, the reviewer finds the game ultimately falls flat, criticizing its attempt to be both a sports and a racing game. The graphics and sound, featuring Ninja Tunes tracks, are praised, and multiplayer is noted as the best aspect, but the gameplay is deemed too shallow for anything more than short bursts of fun, resulting in a rather mediocre score of 5 out of 10. This page dives into the button-bashing world of Olympic athletics, reviewing Konami's International Track and Field. The review immediately sets up a race scenario, comparing ITF to the injury-prone Virtua Athlete 2K and, more favorably, to Sydney 2000. While Sydney 2000 had the official license and a deeper single-player mode, ITF is praised for its far better controls, which apparently make the button mashing more enjoyable, increasing the fun factor considerably. ITF features 12 events in total, with 8 available initially, including sprints, hurdles, jumps, throws, and weightlifting, plus 4 unlockable events. The core gameplay relies on rhythmic button tapping and timing, a classic formula. The review notes the game is somewhat shallow but makes up for it with unlockable extras, and a focus on multiplayer and achieving world records. The DC UK verdict rates the graphics as smooth but lacking finesse, the sound has awful music but decent effects, and the gameplay, though button bashing, has intelligent controls that make it a superior choice over its rivals. Overall, it gets a solid 6 out of 10. This page features a review of Looney Tunes Space Race, a cartoon racer hoping to blast off with the Dreamcast faithful. The game throws iconic characters like Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Wile E. Coyote, and Yosemite Sam onto rockets for some Chow-Tik kart-style racing. You'll be grabbing Acme crates for weapons, which look hilariously destructive in the screenshots, but the reviewer points out the track designs are rather dull despite the bright visuals. There's a Billy bonus section detailing unlockable content like minigames and gallery items earned by winning races. However, the racing itself is deemed too repetitive and random, relying more on luck than skill, which apparently makes it a chore in single player, though it fares better with friends. Despite decent graphics and sound capturing the Looney Tunes feel, the shallow gameplay earns it a rather average 5 out of 10. This page features a review of the utterly bizarre Dreamcast title, Seaman. Forget racing cartoon characters, this is a voice recognition pet simulator, where you raise a fish with a human head. The goal? To guide its evolution into an amphibious creature, apparently so it can leave its tank and find love. Sounds bonkers, right? Donalsa has me. The game involves interacting with this unsettling creation via a microphone, raising it from an egg through stages like mushroomers, and a creature called Nautilus, which the seamen consume. The review highlights the weird process of evolution, and the surprising depth of the conversations you can have, though it quickly becomes clear these seamen are rather unpleasant characters despite your efforts. It's more a strange, absorbing experience than a traditional game, focusing on raising a bizarre offspring. The reviewer found it a massively rewarding experience, despite the unsettling visuals and the creatures themselves being described as nasty little sods. It scores a respectable 8 out of 10. This page dives into NFL 2K1, Sega's attempt at American football on the Dreamcast, and according to the review, it's their greatest NFL game, and perhaps the most atmospheric sports game available for the console. Despite being totally alien to most Brits, it's picked up a strong following among hardcore fans in the States. The game is praised for expertly balancing stealth-heavy realism with arcade-style playability. It features wonderful animation and solid player models, making it feel super realistic. The sound also contributes massively, with commentary, stadium noise, and player sounds immersing you in the action. Gameplay is easy to get into but has enough depth for serious fans, featuring customizable playbooks and improved running mechanics. Beyond just playing the game, there's a full management option allowing you to handle budgets, trades, and even the draft, though mastering it requires navigating an arcane system. While it boasts online play for up to 8 players, the review notes it was impossibly slow from the UK, which is a bit of a shame for us overseas chaps. Ultimately, NFL 2K1 is considered an outstanding one-player experience, definitely worth importing if you're keen on the sport, scoring a solid 8 out of 10. This page is absolutely jam-packed with DC listings, essentially a massive buyer's guide reviewing pretty much every Dreamcast game currently available. The point is to stop you wasting your hard-earned quid on a duff game, listing them all with a quick comment, and their original score from the magazine. It's broken down by genre, with a handy key at the top covering everything from action/adventure to strat/simulation. There are also some cracking best-of sections highlighting top performers with screenshots. We've got the best action/adventures, featuring Resident Evil Code, Veronica, Sonic Adventure, and Fur Fighters. The top beat-em-ups include Soul Calibur, Dead or Alive 2, and Power Stone. For patrol heads, the best driving games are Metropolis Street Racer, Ferrari 355 Challenge, and Crazy Taxi. And proving the Dreamcast is king of sports games, Virtua Tennis, Tony Hawk's Skateboarding, and NBA 2K lead the pack. It's a comprehensive list, saving you from making a terrible purchase. This page continues the DC listings, acting as a buyer's guide for pretty much every Dreamcast game you could currently get your hands on back then. It carries on the format from the last page, giving a quick review, publisher, player count, original issue number, and score for titles ranging from fighting games like Techromancer, to racers like Tokyo Highway Challenge, and even cartoons like Wacky Races. It's a cracking resource to make sure you didn't end up with a proper dud. Dominating the right side is a big advert for future auctions, a marketplace encouraging you to buy and sell your gear. Below the listings is the DC glossary, explaining some of the technical terms you might find in the magazine. It dives into concepts like viewpoint, different camera perspectives, and clipping/pop-up, when graphics appear unexpectedly. It uses games like the Need for Speed and Fatal Fury as examples to illustrate these points, which is quite helpful for understanding the crit. The next page is dedicated to reader reviews and DX tips. On the left, gamers give their verdicts on a mixed bag of titles. Ricardo found South Park Rally a fun time, scoring it 8/10, while Kieran was absolutely blown away by Virtua Tennis, declaring it the best sports game ever, and awarding a perfect 10 out of 10. Not everything fared so well. Stephen thought JoJo's Bizarre Adventure was a bit of a disaster, scoring it a mere 3/10. Andrew, however, was pleasantly surprised by Rainbow Six, giving the tactical shooter 8/10. The right side is all about DX tips, offering guides for popular games like Virtua Tennis and the challenging Ferrari 355 Challenge, complete with striking images of the car and tennis action. Plus, there's a handy list of cheat codes for a selection of games including Space Channel 5 and GTA 2, featuring some vibrant screenshots. It's a useful page for seeing what fellow gamers think and getting a helping hand. This page is a comprehensive guide to mastering Virtua Tennis, following on from the rave reviews the game has been getting. It breaks down the game's mechanics and offers sage advice for both beginners and those looking to dominate the court. The guide provides essential tips covering general gameplay, like mastering your shots and net play, alongside technique-based strategies for outsmarting the AI and placing your shots effectively. It also highlights recommended players you might want to try, including familiar names like Jim Courier, Carlos Moya, and Tim Henman, detailing their strengths and weaknesses. Plus, there's a rundown on how the different court surfaces like hard, grass, clay, and carpet affect gameplay and strategy. It's packed with screenshots illustrating key tactics, showing everything from powerful serves to crucial lunge shots, proving this game has real depth beyond just hitting the ball back and forth. Definitely worth a read if you want to step up your game. The next page dives even deeper into Virtua Tennis, picking up where the last left off by detailing the training games. It explains how to tackle challenges like Big Wall, Bullseye, Giant Ball, Pin Crasher, Drum Shooter, Return Ace, Smashbox, and Cannonball, giving you the lowdown on how to ace each one. Honestly, some of these are a proper test of your skill. Completing these training games isn't just for bragging rights, it's how you unlock snazzy extra costumes. Plus, the page reveals how to get your hands on secret characters like King and Master, the chaps pictured here. Beating King sounds like a right challenge, mind you, as he's apparently the best player in the game. Master, on the other hand, you get by losing a match in arcade mode. A bit counterintuitive, but there you go. Patience and practice are apparently key to besting these unlocked legends. This page is packed with cheats and codes for several Dreamcast hits. First up, F355 Challenge lets you unlock bonus tracks using specific names as passwords. Then there's Space Channel 5, where you can unlock an extra difficulty setting by completing the game, and even set our girl Ulala on fire by getting a high rank. Cheeky! Speaking of Ulala, she's prominently featured here in her iconic orange getup. San Francisco Rush 2049 offers a wealth of unlocks, from a hidden cheat menu via a button combo to various stunt tracks and battle arenas, usually by earning points or achieving certain race placements, as shown in the racing screenshot. On the action replay front, there are codes for Grand Theft Auto 2, Rayman 2, NHL 2K, and Choo Choo Rocket, offering the usual suspects like infinite health, ammo, energy, high scores, and other helpful nudges, perfect for those who fancy a bit of digital mischief. There's also a small advert for the action replay CDX itself. The rest of the page features a rather striking advert for Edge magazine, highlighting their exclusive report on Daytona, USA, landing on the Dreamcast. This page is a comprehensive player's guide for the notoriously difficult Ferrari 355 Challenge, a game previously mentioned for its unlockable cheats. This guide delves into the nitty-gritty of taming the wild Italian pony on the taxing circuits. It provides tips on essential driving techniques, covering acceleration, braking, and different cornering methods like drift and grip, explaining which is faster and why you'd use either. The guide also breaks down the game's various driving assists, traction control, ABS, intelligent braking, and stabilizer, detailing their functions and advising that while helpful initially, mastering the game truly requires turning them off. Lastly, it touches on the crucial tuning options available, such as ride height, spring rate, and stabilizer, necessary to adapt the car for different tracks. The page is illustrated, with several screenshots showing the game's interface, including the assist selection menu, the in-game HUD, and the detailed car settings screen, along with some rather lovely shots of the Ferrari 355 itself. It's a proper deep dive for anyone wanting to get serious about this tricky racer. This page offers a comprehensive track guide for Ferrari 355 Challenge, providing insights into each circuit. You've got easy ones like Motegi, the oval that's great for honing skills, and Suzuka Short, perfect for mastering technique before tackling harder stuff. Then there are real tests, like the tricky Monza with its nasty chicanes, or the absolute nightmare that is Long Beach, a narrow city circuit that demands respect. Sugo and the full Suzuka offer length and technicality, while tracks like Daytona and Nürburgring mix speed with challenging corners. Fiorano, Ferrari's own track, is surprisingly difficult despite having no AI racers. Laguna Seca adds sand to the mix, making traction a proper faff, and Sepang is just a bit bland, apparently. It's clear each track requires a different approach if you want to avoid binning it. This page delves into the DC interactive queue and a section where readers fire off their burning Dreamcast questions to the experts. We've got questions ranging from the availability of colored Dreamcast pads in Europe, apparently you could get them earlier than expected, to technical woes like getting rid of the black bar when using an NTSC-PAL converter. Splash out on a decent one apparently. There are queries about finding specific cables, whether us games like WWF Royal Rumble work on UK consoles with a cheat disc. Spoiler, it's a struggle. And if Aeroings 2 is just dogfighting, it is. The everwise science officer Maximus weighs in on tricky tech stuff, like repairing a broken modem, or explaining the near impossibility of playing us online games like NFL 2K1 in the UK, due to technical hurdles and region locking. Plus, there's advice on where to find game soundtracks like Soul Calibur OSTS Try Otaku, naturally, and confirmation that Ready 2 Rumble supports the vibration pack. It's a cracking insight into the common issues and curiosities of Dreamcast owners back in the day. This page is where the truly talented Dreamcast players strut their stuff. Welcome to the DC Interactive Challenge and High Score section, daring you to beat the best. We've got challenges laid out for you across a heap of games, from burning rubber in Ferrari 355, to busting moves on the rails in Tony Hawk's skateboarding, or seeing how long you can last in Dead or Alive 2 and Soul Calibur survival modes. Ever wondered if you're the king of the digital waves? Sega Bass Fishing wants to see your biggest catch. Or maybe you're the crazy taxi champion aiming for the ultimate jump or flag time? This is where the current top scores are displayed, showing who's currently bossing it. If you manage to knock one of these hotshots off their perch, you could be bagging yourself a shiny Mad Catz joypad or a DC UK t-shirt. Get practicing, prove your brilliance, and send in your evidence. This page is the DM at IL section, where readers write in with their thoughts and grievances. The mail of the month is quite something, revealing that the Sonic Hedgehog gene is actually important in cancer research. Who knew Sega's mascot was a scientific pioneer? Apparently the winner gets a VMU, and some games for this revelation. Top stuff. Yakse. Other letters bemoan the apparent lack of RPGs on the Dreamcast, asking where they are besides code. Veronica. Bless them, not quite an RPG, but you get the idea. The mag reassures them Phantasy Star Online, Shenmue, Skies of Arcadia, and Grandia 2 are on the way. There's also a widespread complaint about the high price of European games compared to Japan, and the lack of internet bonuses, which feels a bit rough to be fair. Concerns about the DC's long-term survival against the PlayStation 2 hype are also discussed, with readers urging Sega to step up its advertising game and showcase cracking titles like Metropolis Street Racer, Virtua Tennis, and Half-Life. All in all, plenty of passionate opinions about the Dreamcast's present and future. This page is all about getting your Dreamcast online, showcasing Sega's push into the internet realm. The big news is that SegaNet is off to a flying start in the US, with hundreds of thousands signing up, paving the way for online Bomberman, Quake 2i, and even the upcoming Metropolis Street Racer. Finally, Orut, Korisa, we also get the scoop on the online version of Half-Life, which is apparently coming next year in America, promising multiplayer mayhem. Over in Japan, the Phantasy Star Online public test looked promising, with players teaming up to take on massive dragons, witnessed by the legendary Yuji Naka himself. Sounds like proper RPG fun. Elsewhere, there's a look at online auctions for flogging off your old games via Yahoo, and a rather futile attempt to get Hotmail working on the Dreamcast browser. Plus, a peek at websites for VMU downloads, and a dedicated DC UK Half-Life mini-site. And yes, they even list some less Thangaming-related sites just for a laugh, because why not? This page features the cover story from SFX Magazine, getting up close and personal with the one and only Harrison Ford to discuss his venture into the horror genre with What Lies Beneath. Seems even iconic heroes get spooked sometimes. The issue also delves into the worlds of Buffy and Angel, Star Trek, and Batman 5. And for a bit of a laugh, you could even win land on the moon because Warrington Norckery. Reasons? The rest of the page is packed with adverts for various places where you can get your hands on games, consoles, and accessories, offering everything from Dreamcast imports and repairs to buying and selling second-hand gear across all the major platforms. This page is a cracker of a Christmas subscription offer for DC UK Magazine. You can nab 6 issues for just £12, and they'll even throw in a free CD case, apparently worth a tenner. Smashing! You can subscribe for yourself or as a gift. The next page is a look ahead to the next issue, declaring a winter wonderland of content. It promises in-depth reviews of the best games and peripherals for the Christmas season, which sounds absolutely essential. You'll also get exclusive previews of hot upcoming titles, plus the latest news straight from Japan and the US. They're even throwing in authoritative guides for Power Stone 2 and Doa 2, amongst other things. Featured on the page are shots from games like the blistering Quake 2i, Arena and the mighty Shenmue, both getting the review treatment. There are previews too, for the online phenomenon Phantasy Star Online, and the trucking sim 18-wheeler. Ready 2 Rumbles, Round 2 is also reviewed. And look, there's some bloke called Tinkerbeast, dressed as a fairy, offering a guide to the 12 games of Christmas. Right then. This issue is due out on November 17th. This page features the DC UK team diary detailing the staff's daily lives in September, including personal anecdotes and photos. There's also a section for finding the UK #1 song on your birthday, and a large advertisement for Netscape Online promoting internet access services. This page features a rather tempting bundle offer for the excellent Dreamcast racer, Metropolis Street Racer, including a Thrustmaster racing wheel for £64.99. The game rightly earned top marks, pulling in 10 out of 10 from DC UK and 9/10 from ODM, thanks to its stunning graphics, physics, and vast number of routes and cars set across real-world cities. On the right, there's an explanation that this is a preliminary version from the out-of-print archive project, detailing their monumental effort to digitize and preserve classic magazines like this for everyone to enjoy, despite the challenges involved.